Today we're reviewing a very exciting controller, and it's definitely not what you're expecting. It's not what I was expecting when my Scuf representative dropped a little tidbit that they were releasing a new model. I was thinking, Xbox, PlayStation, PC like the Envision Pro? No, and no, those segments are all filled. But what has never been filled from Corsair's controller company Scuf is the mobile segment, which is massive. And their entrance is a ham-fisted and heavy one with some meaty features that transfer directly over from their full-size gamepads. All is not perfect in paradise, and I do have a couple of critiques for their next version or iteration, but overall this is a fantastic mobile gamepad and pretty much what you would expect from Scuf entering the mobile controller world. Let's get it. A quick disclaimer for my audience, the Stallions and Stallionettes, this controller was sent for review, but this is going to be an honest, comprehensive review. I haven't been paid or told to say anything about it, so if there's any cons, shortcomings, or areas of improvement, you're going to hear about it. So these companies make better products over time. So a quick summary, what is this controller? Well, it's the first mobile controller from Scuf, so a lot of the features that we're used to with the Instinct for Xbox, the Reflex for PlayStation, and the Envision for PC, yes, there's Pro and special variants of each of those, a lot of the features that we're used to, such as remappable rear buttons, rubberized grips, which are actually quite succulent, an application free of subscriptions and advertisements, love that, a record and share function through that application, which we're going to test later, up to 16 hours of battery life, which is mid-high. But one feature that we've never seen on a Scuf controller, this is the first model to sport it, and it's interesting that it's a mobile controller that's getting this treatment first, and that is anti-stick drift Hall effect thumbstick modules. When I say anti-drift, that is for sure always going to be verbatim what the company's marketing shtick is. I call it like it is, drift resistant. You're a lot less likely to get stick drift with Hall effect thumbstick modules, but you can still have a recentering spring lose tension on you over time. But it is very exciting that Scuf is implementing that. That bodes well that there's going to be other models in the lineup, maybe for Xbox and PlayStation, that do implement this technology. But how does this stand as a $100 mobile controller? Actually really good. I've tested all of its competitors, those snap and clip backbone style clones, like the actual OG backbone, the Razer Rikishi. That was an old wrestler that used to sit on people's face, but y'all know what I'm talking about. And then of course the GameSir G8 Galileo, which has been long time praised and lauded as my favorite mobile snap and clip style controller. But the Nomad, which is a really cool name by the way, has a strong chance to dethrone it and uses a lot of the Scuf features that I've become accustomed to over the last 3 years in a mobile snap and clip controller. So it's great to see all those transfer directly over. Like I'm about to transfer directly over to the desk over here to test it for you. And it is also worth a note that there is a white and black variant, both $100 from Scuf. And this is currently not for sale on Amazon, but I'm assuming it will be considering the Instinct and the Envision and previous models like the Prestige for Xbox have gotten sold on Amazon. As for the packaging, included accessories, one note about compatibility, even though this has a USB-C port and you might think this will work on Android, it is labeled specifically as working only with iOS 16 and higher. Some of the key notable features on the back, and of course this is going to have that orange branding as that is Scuf's theme color. And this is going to work with Apple Arcade, a licensed iPhone product. So not the most saucy looking packaging, just some paper holding your stuff together. Safety, compliance, warranty information bundled into this little placard, and then a QR code to get you to a quick start guide. Sorry, I was taken aback a little bit by the presentation. I expected something a little saucier in here. I don't know. This is how I'm going to be rocking my Nomad with these puppies on here, kind of like those little ass gaskets at a public restroom, just for safety. We should leave these on. Included accessory wise, you are going to have a 10-foot braided USB-C cable, no dust covers on the USB-A or C end, but you do have that hexagonal branding, orange of course as it is Scuf, and you have a rubber tie back which will stay connected. Never mind. Then you've got this rubber doodad, which I actually don't know what the hell it is. I'll read up on it. I'll educate myself, but I sure as shit know what these are. These are the swappable thumbstick caps, almost identical as I engage the macro lens to the caps that come with the Instinct, which are absolutely fantastic, and also the Scuf Universal slipovers, which I've been using on my TB Stealth Ultra. They feel phenomenal. They have a little plastic dish or tray that you snap on, just like Control Freaks. And these are great. They provide a good amount of grip around the outside with this hexagonal pattern. As you see, it's tearing a bunch of dead skin off my fingers. That's delicious. But what I like the most is going to be the center section, which looks like it's completely slick. That rubber or silicone, very grippy. Just hugs your finger. And unlike previous Scuf caps before they were acquired from Corsair, those suckers would break apart within the first couple months or a year at the most, but they were so soft and squishy squishy that they would just disintegrate in your hand. These, much better. The two caps that are pre-installed are concaved, so similar to an Xbox, and then these are going to be domed, similar to a DualSense Edge. You have a short dome, and then a, well, it's not really a high dome, kind of a mid-rise dome. Autofocus for me, sweetheart? All right, we're done. Also important to note, this is not an instruction manual or quick start guide. This is just your safety, compliance, regulatory information telling you not to choke out your buddy with the USB-C cable or suck on the thumbstick caps like Mentos. If you want to know how to use this controller, you're just going to have to discover it on your own or scan that QR code. As for cosmetics or appearance, this is going to get compared to the GameSir G8 Galileo in a lot of categories, cosmetics or looks included. I do think the Scuf looks better, although the GameSir looks sick as fuck as well. Going with that light gray and those plum face buttons, very reminiscent of the Nintendo SNES. However, the Scuf being blacked out and having this little hexagonal pattern on the T-bone area. T-bone's what you don't want to have happen in the intersection, but this little crossbar section for your phone, and just being blacked and grayed out looks so slick. Then around on backside, you do have rubber grips, which none of its competitors have. They're all stippled plastic. As for the ergonomics and comfort, this is for sure gonna get compared. Damn, brother, came out country as hell, y'all some bitch. Allow me to explain. I used to talk real crisp and proper when I lived in California, but then, you know, we lived in Virginia, Texas for a little bit, Floribama border area for like the last 7 years or so, and this is how you talk eventually.
You gotta give him that hawk and spit on that thing.
This here vehicle was built in America, and so was I.
Taste of America.
This is for sure going to get compared to the G8 because that is previously the most comfortable controller for mobile, and I do still think it is more comfortable because it is larger. You can see from this angle, well, not right now, you can see nothing but fucking green. The GameSir G8 Galileo has more of a typical Xbox shape, which is more comfortable. It's larger, it has more sculpted palm grips for you to wrap your fingers around, and the Nomad definitely goes more for portability, being a straight up snap and clip style. Having said that, there is still a very nice ergonomic palm grip for you to squeeze onto, and you do have rubber grips over here, which you do not have on any other mobile controller that I've tested. I still deem the G8 Galileo just a skosh more comfortable than the Nomad, but not much, and this is more portable. You have this soft touch rubberized material on the faceplate. I guess it's not a faceplate, palm grip. Everything just feels so damn good in hand, and if you have medium to smaller size hands, then this might actually be more comfortable than the G8, but for, you know, the North American audience, the G8's probably still a little bit more comfortable. As for the build quality, doing this one-handed is pretty difficult because it takes a good amount of resistance. This is the most secure bar extension ever. It feels so fluid and smooth, like it's on some kind of oiled track, and it just kind of snaps into place on both ends. It feels so nice, and every component just screams, this isn't a cheap piece of shit, and definitely doesn't feel like a $100 unit either, so I'm going to go ahead and give build quality a 9 out of 10, as I think this hits above its weight class, and if you do have any issues, you do now have 1 year of coverage with Scuf, what it should have been all along. I hate the D-pad and face buttons of the Nomad with a passion, so let's explain each one individually, starting with the D-pad. First of all, it is freakishly small. It's also in a very awkward position to where you damn near have to dislocate your thumb in order to reach it. Plastics used feel pretty good, but overall the actuation is incredibly sloppy, mushy, and just feels like a big membrane piece of mashed potato crap. So the placement, the actuation, everything except the surface plastics, I do not like. It's also fucking so small, as you can see. 3 out of 10 for the D-pad. As for the face buttons, they are also just unbelievably small, as I can engulf all of them with my thumb. You can do this on most full-size controllers, but space and sizing-wise, these are freakishly small, and I was having a hell of a time cleanly hitting whatever button I wanted to. Not to mention, these are also in a fucked up position where you have to just, you know, not as bad as the D-pad, but still not great. But luckily, you can bind some of the hoopla to the back, and these are membrane, not mechanical, which also the G8 is membrane, but they're also a lot bigger. I'm gonna go ahead and give the face buttons a 3 out of 10 as well. Scuf has committed a cardinal sin in the accessory button suite. Can you see what it is? Give you a second. The buttons that are up here, pretty easily accessible, should be pause and select, or pause and option, your in-game buttons, and then down here should be your controller-specific functions like engaging turbo or checking your battery status. It's not. It's flip-flopped and ass-reversed over here, as where the GameSir did it correctly. Home button that you probably don't use much, and your screen share and all that stuff down here, but then your pause and select up here, where it should be, easily accessible. That's silly. Now, where I think the Nomad knocks it out of the park is going to be the thumbsticks. Not only are they Hall effect, so damn near stick drift proof, which also, keep in mind, the G8 is, as well as the smaller GameServe snap and clip style that I just tested, which is more of a direct competitor for the Nomad over here. What I really like about these thumbsticks is they are full-size, regular gamepad thumbsticks as far as diameter. Also, the grip, which I touched on a little bit earlier, it's the same rubber silicone compound that Scuf uses in their Instinct for Xbox. Clicking down R3 and L3, tight and secure. You do also have anti-friction rings that you're going to glide along when you're at full lock on the outside of your thumbstick gates. These feel great, and also the ergonomic position. Your fingers, your thumbs are almost straight up and down, just aligning them in a really good attack position, if you will. I'm going to give these thumbsticks a 9 out of 10. Upon going back and forth between these suckers, I am more of a fan of the bumpers and trigger suite, the top suite, if you will, of the Nomad, as they feel so tight, secure, quiet. The actuation is buttery smooth, whether you use the meat of your finger or the tip, as where the G8's a little bit smaller and feels really hollow, clacky, and shitty. Also, good amount of resistance on these triggers, a little bit less travel or range of motion than the G8, but a better amount of resistance, more strength, and it feels more taut and secure. And since they aren't just on-off like a button click, they are analog, you can modulate the throttle and brake in things like a racing game. I do wish there was a little bit of stippling or dots up here for grip, but the plastics used feel pretty damn good. I'm going to go ahead and give the bumpers and triggers an 8 out of 10. The rear buttons are virtually identical to Scuf's current model lineup, every other single controller, except you only have two. So you have the inner palms, but you can't extend your finger out and hit the inner ones. That'd be kind of sick if you had a 4 rear button mobile controller. That'd be the first I've ever seen, but this is pretty sick as these are ergonomically almost identical to the full-size controllers. I do wish you could bind these on the fly, but you do need to use the Nomad companion app, which luckily is pretty good. Rear buttons, I'm gonna go ahead and give them a 9 out of 10. In the instruction manual, this is the digital software instruction manual, which I do like because it has the table of contents over here, which does jump you directly to where you want to be, and there's also videos, high-resolution videos. What I do not like to see is when I click over here for remapping the rear buttons, or any of the inputs for that matter, you do need to do all this through the Scuf Nomad companion app, which I'll walk you through in just a mo, but it'd be great if you could bind these on the fly. You don't ever really see that with mobile style controllers. That's more of a full-size controller thing where you hold a combination of buttons. Also, a little note here for the software, which I'm about to walk you through right now. It is specific to this one device, so it's not like a Scuf universal application that controls all their controllers or anything like that. Controls their controllers, that sounds silly, but the Envision, which is their PC only controller, which I've been getting a lot of stick time with here recently, that uses the Corsair IQ application, which is okay, but that's an umbrella software just like Razer Synapse, so everything from their headsets, keyboards, mice, all their accessories go through that application, which has its own quirks. But this is a mobile phone application. Since it is a mobile snap and clip style controller, it makes the most sense to have that style of application. So let's check it out now. The Nomad companion app. I'm your companion for this video. The controllers go in Nomad.
Nomad charter accepted, Jax. Redwood. That's the vote to release.
Go in Nomad. Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ! Jesus Christ!
Jesus Christ.
I'm going to be screen sharing, so you're going to see what I'm seeing through my corneas. Okay, red lights are flashing. Hit next. Yep.
Yep.
So the audience are a bunch of hoes.
Yep.
Taking a little time, but that's okay. We've got patience on this channel. So now can I control it with the controller? Yes, I can. That's awesome. You don't need to see all my photos, do you? Why would it need access to my photos? So I'm going to prop up my phone with the kickstand over here, aka the pop socket, and I'm just going to use this thing like a controller. Really, all I want to do here is bind the rear buttons. But all I want to do here is ditto with my profiles. We're coming over here to profile 1 to the back. I guess I don't need to do anything because that's what I want it bound to, but very easy, very fluid. You click on it, you're able to use the D-pad or the analog stick, A to select, B to go back, as you'd expect. Yeah, pretty solid little phone application. I know I bust the balls off of phone applications, and rightfully so, as they're usually turds, but this one, I'd wipe it. This is pretty good. So right now it's showing I don't have any games, probably because I have all my games in a folder, but I do have about 7 or 8 installed on my phone for testing purposes. Here's some of the recommended games. Also, it's pretty impressive that Resident Evil Village over here, the iPhone 15 Pros is running the native full-on game, not like a mobile phone version or anything. So that's a pretty cool benchmark for iPhones. And then you do also have 2 additional third-party plugins over here, Apple Arcade and PS Remote Play, which we know all about because that's what the PS Portal does. And also, this is where your gallery is going to be. So if you're popping off screenshots, this is where your still shots and video clips are going to be. You have to allow access first. So I guess that's why it needed my photo access. And since I'm not really going to be doing doing much of that. I don't need to give it photo access. Pressing the menu button takes you back to here where you can look at your device. First thing I recommend doing is checking for an update. We're good to go. And you also have preferences for the controller as well as how it communicates with the PS app. So your remote play settings, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, this is a good phone app. For sure. Got to caveat it with the little period at the end of the sentence though. For a phone app. This snap and clip is different than any I've seen because you don't actually pair with a USB-C port. As you can see, it's just a rubber coating on each side. It holds your phone in place, but all the connectivity is done through Bluetooth. Because of that fact, you're not using a USB-C port, getting your phone in and out's incredibly quick. You're just boop, bloop, you're just walking along, la-da-da, I want to play some games.
You're driving along, la-la-la, woo.
Yeah, pretty sick. So with this Nomad companion app, which also organizes your games, it works kind of like a launcher. It's not compiling a bunch of shitty little indie games that are most likely crypto scams and loaded with NFTs and crap like that. All the ones that are recommended games are the most popular top ranked games in the Apple Play Store, such Apple Play, Google Play, or Apple. I mixed them together. That's cool. But games we all recognize like Asphalt 9 and Resident Evil 4 and Genshin Impact will be compatible with the Nomad. Also, I've never seen this before, but it actually installs them directly from here. It doesn't even open up the App Store or anything. Say I want the shark game and then I hit open. Boom. And it just adds it to your downloads through the Scuf app. It doesn't even open up the Apple App Store or anything. That's fucking cool. As for fitment, I will say it's a little bit wonky. This is compatible with most cases, although mine is a little thick around the camera region. God, my phone's dirty. But that little lip there gives protection to the cameras, which is pretty important for me because I use this for a lot of recording. And that does make your phone kind of cocked at just an ever so slight angle, but not a big deal because then you just tilt your controller wrist a little bit and it compensates for that. But I just want to mention that unless I want to take my case off, which I'm not going to do. It takes extra time that I could be playing games.
Get some sleep. What are you going to do? Show me some ID.
Fuck yourself. That's going to be copyright. Uh-oh. Okay, so that might have been a fluke, but I got a little bit of input lag or delay there, which is not good. This will be a good test for it. We're driving right now in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Vice City, I mean, not San Andreas. So I'm able to keep her on the road pretty good, not really violating any traffic laws or anything like that. Other than that one little fluke, that little hiccup in the Bluetooth connection, she's been pretty fucking solid. So as for the pros, cons, and verdict, I will say the packaging was a little bit lackluster when I busted into it. I expected a little bit more because the Scuf unboxing experience is generally a little bit more premium, although the $100 price point and the fact this is a mobile controller, probably should have set my expectations a little bit better there. Speaking of setting expectations, do it here, do it now when it comes to the D-pad and the face or action buttons because they're pretty garbage. They're pretty small and they just feel real smushy and membraney. Membraney's not a word yet, but I contacted Webster's and they're adding it to the dictionary pretty soon. The fact that this pairs up via Bluetooth and not like a hardwired USB-C connection does introduce a little bit of input lag or delay, which I only really noticed one time while I was playing that Vice City, where I went to swerve the wheel to the left and I ran up the curb because it didn't turn when I asked it to turn. So a little bit of stutter in the Bluetooth connection. I really wish you could rebind the rear buttons on the fly just by holding down a combination of button presses, but you have to use the Nomad companion app, which I do really like. I generally bash mobile applications for being pieces of shit, but this one was actually very enjoyable, very easy to use. On to the pros, which will slide right on into the verdict. Comfort. This is a very comfortable controller. I will say it is a step down from the G8 Galileo for medium to larger size hands because the palm grips are notably smaller, but you do have rubber grips which feel phenomenal, and if you have somewhat smaller hands, then this would probably be a better option for you. You have that rubberized soft touch material wrapped around everything, really grippy thumbsticks, which are also Hall effect, very unlikely to get stick drift for you. You do have swappable options of domed and concaved, anti-friction rings, 2 remappable rear buttons, which feel almost identical to the full-size gamepads. So as for the verdict, I would still personally pick up the G8 if I could only own one mobile snap and clip controller because it does fit my hands a little bit better, and I personally would rather sacrifice a little bit of portability to have larger face buttons and larger triggers and basically the feeling of a full-size controller. Also, the G8 has a 3.5mm headphone jack, which the Nomad does not. But overall, the Nomad and the G8, this is like the 1-2 punch, the two best mobile these are clapped out, snap and clip style controllers. This if you have a little bit larger hands, and this if you have a little bit smaller hands. But man, these are really really nice though, both of these puppies here. The Nomad is phenomenal. It is linked in the description below. Can't really recommend it enough. It does have some cons, which I pointed out, but overall, for $100 snap and clip, nice. And also, this is Scuff's first entry into the mobile controller segment, so they were going to go hard, and hard in the paint this does go. Linked in the description below if you want to check it out, and I'll see you stallions and stallionettes tomorrow. Peace. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers, so this information will reach and assist them as well. Much like the back of the TV, I've got plugs for all of my socials down there in the description below. And your wallet will greatly thank you if you check the description, because there are exclusive discounts on a ton of products, including controllers, control freaks, keyboards, mouse pads, clothes, and energy drinks. And keep in mind that you, the viewer, keep this channel running. The more stallions and stallionettes trotting around the stable, the better, so mollywop that subscribe button like it owes you money, and we'll have the same amount of fun tomorrow.